Master, I have traveled so far to learn everything I can about photography. What is the one thing you have to teach me?
He who angers you conquers you.
Okay, and welcome to another tutorial on how to use Magix Pro. In this one, we're going to be showing how to track a special effect to a moving object. I don't know what's going on over at Magix, but it looks like their developers are drinking a lot of Red Bull and staying up late because they are cranking out a lot of new stuff, and that's awesome actually. To start with, what you need to do is you need to go to the Magix Pro forum. If you do, click here, you go to Magix Pro, and then right up here on the top is this post called Scripting by Sebastian. And if you click on it, there's a script you can download, and then you just click on it. It'll be in a zip file. You'll unzip it and there'll be a folder, and inside that folder is a file, and that file is called Copy Motion Track to Picture in Picture. And then what you'll do is once you download that file, you'll come into your files, you'll go into your Vegas Pro 16, and you'll drag that file into your script menu. And I've already done a tutorial on scripting, so I have a link to that in the description. So I encourage you to watch. It's not very long, and it'll bring you up to speed on all of this. Once that's done, then if you come into Tools and go Scripting, if you don't see this file, then just click Rescan Script Menu Folder, and then it should pop up in there. Because you're going to need this to make this effect happen. So really what it is, if we look at what I got on the timeline already, well, first I was messing around with this earlier, but let me get rid of that. Okay, so we have this scene of this girl. She's like walking up to pay homage to this guru guy. He actually already has like this chakra on his forehead, which was actually motion tracked in another program, not Magix Pro. And so what we're going to try to do is to put a chakra on her forehead. And so I'm going to be taking you through those steps in real time. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing we got to do is we have our track and the thing that we want to track. And so we want this on the second track because the effect track is going to go on track 1. So you're going to have 2 tracks, and the first track is blank for now, and the second track is the clip upon which you will be tracking. What we're going to do is we go to the first frame of the clip, and we go to Effects, and we go to Bezier Masking. Go Add OK. And when you first come in, the screen is black. It can be confusing, but if you just pump up blend a little bit, you can see that this is actually your mask. So what we're going to be doing is, it's kind of strange because this is called Bezier Masking, but we're not going to be masking anything. We're just going to be using this tool to get some tracking data, and that's all we want from this. And so ultimately we're going to be just putting this at 1 because we don't want a mask at all. So anyway, and then as far as the mask, what we're going to do is what I'm finding is what seems to matter is if you put yourself on a high area of contrast versus a bigger area with low contrast. So you can actually come in fairly tight. Like if I just want to get on her eyes, that should be sufficient, because I just really want to create a tracking point. From that tracking point, I'll have data on which to attach my effect. So that should be enough contrast in this area right now. So then what we do is we open up this, and we come down here and we go to Options, and we're going to put this at high, and we just need to track her location. And the keyframe interval, I really feel like it should probably be a 2 at least. 2, because I don't want to lose the track, so I wanted to track her fairly closely. If you kind of want to see where you are, you can monitor all this while it's happening. So when you've got your mask set and we've got that over her eyes, I think we're almost good to go. And you just hit start, and it's going to track her. It just takes a little bit. You can see it laying down all these tracking marks. Now it's going to lose the track at a certain point because see, it lost the track because the scene actually changed to the guy. So this is all the tracking, our tracking data. Now, I should mention that Magix Pro has always had the ability to motion track, but it was never automated like this. So we could have done this effect in the old versions of Magix Pro, but it would have taken us a lot of time, and it would have been like, I don't know, look how many tracks that is. That's like painting a grain of rice or something. That's a lot of work you would have had to have done. So here it's all done for us. So that's great. So once we have our tracking data, we can just put this back to 1, and so we have no mask at all. And we just have our tracking data, which is all we want. But what we can do is if you hit the scroll wheel, you can expand in and out on this. And what you can do is kind of just check your mask now, is just drag it along and see if it kind of stays with her. Let's see here. So it looks like it pretty much stays with her. So then when she turned her head, I noticed that it moved, it shifted. But you can drag it back and forth, make sure that it stays. See right there, it looks like it lost her for a second. It lost her a little bit, but it stayed on her face, but it kind of lost her eyes. So let's say we're not that happy with this track. So what we can do is just stay in our first position. Let's try framing this up a little differently. One thing we can do is come in and try a different size of mask. So let's see, let's not do any of those, and let's just do a square. Okay, and then let's just punch in on really tight on her eye. And I see it's green here, so I'm just gonna punch in. See, one bad thing about this is that it's hard to see sometimes because there's so much stuff in the way, so many points in the way. So here I can kind of see a little bit. So I have that black dot right over her eye. So then I'm gonna try this again, and I'm gonna set the position this time to high. And let's oh, and it went to 5 frames. Let's put that back to, let's just put it at 1, and let's let her rip. And we hit start, and let's see what happens with this one. So it's redoing all the frames now, and that's it. So let's run this cursor back and see if it seems to be staying with her. Whoops, I actually got to drag this thing. So I'd say that seems like it's staying with her pretty well. And you see where the scene switched, so that's why we lost our track, which is fine, because we're going to delete that. So I would say that's tracking with her pretty well. So if you do your track and you don't like it, I would just try a different size mask and try a different area. And like I said, I think a small area with contrast is better than a bigger area with less contrast. Okay, so we're gonna use this tracking data that we have right now. Okay, so now for the effect. I had Vegas Pro Suite. One of the effects in there is from Ignite, from HitFilm, and you can drag this onto your timeline and it creates this flare, kind of a chakra looking thing. This isn't a tutorial about the intensity. You can kind of turn that down a little bit. The scale, I don't want to get too carried away with it. The one thing I did notice is that on the location here, you want to have this in the center. So I'm just going to put in 0.5, comma, 0.5, and then that centers it in the. So I think if you have some kind of effect like that, it's probably best to keep it in the center, and that way it'll stay hopefully in the center of your picture-in-picture, which we'll be getting to in just a moment. I'm not sure how many more of these controls we want to adjust, but I'll just tone it down a little bit. I don't want it to be, and there's all these other controls in here you can play around with. I just want to put a little bit of a chakra in there, not too much. And you can play around with all that. So this is the effect that we're going to add. Now to get to the main point of this is what the effect looks like. And now we want to add our picture-in-picture. So then we come to picture-in-picture, and we go add, and we go OK. And now, interestingly, because I set the effect at 0.5, the picture-in-picture is set at 0.5. So everything's nice and centered. I notice if you don't center it like that, sometimes you'll see this boundary line up here, like you'll see some of this haze or whatever from the effect, and you'll actually see this line. So if you've got an effect, it's good to keep it in the center of this picture-in-picture. This part is kind of important. So you want to make sure you're at the first frame here at the beginning of your clip, and then when you're in picture-in-picture, one thing I noticed is sometimes these controls get in the way. So if you click off of this control up here and click like on pan and crop, those controls go away so that you can you can see what's actually going on there. If I click on picture in picture, and I can then position this to where I want it. So this is where you need to set your initial right at this stage. It's going to be awkward if you try to go back later, adjust your position. So you don't want to, you want to set your position when you're on the first frame. You want to make sure you got it. Now I see some kind of square thing. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I think maybe that is the Bezier mask. So let me see. Yeah, you see that is actually the Bezier mask showing through. So you want to make sure that this is all the way at 1. See, that's the actual mask. So make sure that this is on 1, and when this is on 1, there is no mask. So all we want from this is our tracking data. We don't want the mask. Okay, so now we're almost ready. So once I have my effect centered and placed where I want it, and I want to double check again, make sure that's where I want it, because I've gotten into problems where you try to go back and adjust this later, you're going to just almost have to redo the whole thing. Okay, so there we go. Then the final step is you hit Control on the keyboard and you select this clip. So this is your effect clip, and this is our other clip. And then what we do is come up into Tools, go to Scripting, and then we go Copy Motion Track Data to the picture in picture. And I don't know if you noticed that, but it just moved a little bit. So it's taking all the motion tracking data from the Bezier mask and applying it here to our effect. And then hopefully if I hit play, it should track along with her. Yeah, it seems to track along pretty well. Now, so you notice the scene switch there. What I can do there is just trim this. I want to cut that part, right? So what I'll do is wait till it jumps. Okay, so here, whoops, let me just jump back here. So if I press Alt on the keyboard and hit the arrow keys, it takes me back 1 frame at a time, and I'll just get to this frame, that frame, the very last frame. What we can do is just click and drag this to that clip. Oops, see, I went too far. I need to pull it back 1 more frame. Yep, there we go. Okay. Okay, so I'm just I was just playing around with some of these settings here on the scale, and the intensity seems to be the one that's kind of the key one. But you notice if you put up the effect too much, then you can actually see the picture-in-picture box, the edges of the picture-in-picture box. So on some of these effects, you've got to try to, that's why you want to keep the effect centered inside the box so it doesn't hit those edges. But then if it does hit those edges, what you can do is expand the picture-in-picture box so that it's actually not in the way at all. So let's take a look at that real fast. Yeah, so you can do that. Yeah, so that's how you could do it if you wanted to. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, there's a lot of different things that you could do with it. So you just play around with it. Hopefully you get the general gist of it, of how it all works. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions or comments, let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks, and have a great day.
Master, I have traveled so far to learn everything I can about photography. What is the one thing you have to teach me?
He who angers you conquers you.